this was, it still looks a bit out of focus, doesn't it? This was the last one last night. I've not touched it since, but I want to touch it because this thing about, when you caught the essence, you caught the essence. Whatever you do after that is irrelevant. It's kind of a guiding principle. If you look at some of the drawings that I've done in the folders or on Instagram, some of them were so in the moment. I would try and find one that was just. I don't think this is. I got into a rhythm at some point where. So I'm just flicking through these where the energy thing became just the goal. To capture the essence was the goal. The finished thing became. I don't think it became late. I think it's always been there. It's just that I try not to make it about the finish, and like sort of. Because it's not about the finish, you know what I mean? It's there. If I've caught that face, you may have seen that one. I think that was a demo. If I've got that face, why would I make that hat, the tweed on the hat, smoother or blend the cheeks? Or why would I? I mean, look at the strength in that. So, and I think that's the biggest contradiction of doing this. Sort of capturing that moment like that. It's I can't take it any further. I couldn't take that any further and it be any better. You know what I mean? And that's I mean, I do things like that, but even there is, you see on a coat and things. Why would I put loads of into making that smoother than when I've caught the essence on her face? Look at that, the light on her face, awesome. But not sure where that comes from. I think it comes from the sort of anti-skill thing. I don't know whether I'm anti-skill or not. I think I'm reluctant to develop the skills that you see people develop. I've just watched somebody in one of these famous academies, and the level of skill and knowledge this fella displayed is just off the chart. It was just incredible. But what struck me straight away was this. There are artists that want to copy photographs and make them look photographic, make a photographic copy. And there are artists that want to, I don't think it's copy, but do things in the style of, you know what I mean? So in these academies, they're all amazing artists. It's all the same. It's like they want to do it. Excuse me, I just tied the paper off. They want to do it exactly the same as each other. Why is that? Why? What is it that says that this person? And we're not talking, a radical painting style. We're just talking about making portraits. Capturing the souls. And what is it about these places that have this idea that there is a standard? That's another thing, isn't it? There's a standard of execution, a standard of outcome, standard of models. You know what I mean? How many? There was this. I mean, they won an award. This kid from this, this fancy whatever. It wasn't a competition, an exhibition. Anyway, but what he submitted, the subject looked like a sergeant subject, and it was painted not in a sergeant style, but it might as well have been. But it just looked like one of those 19th century type of portraits. And I wonder how much of that is the reason why he won what he did, because it's a known quantity. It's not taken in terms of, I might be wrong. I probably am wrong. It just struck me. Oh, it looks like a 19th century portrait. Is that the reason why it won? I have no idea. But this thing about finish and let me drink with tea. Yes, Gary, it is a bit of bamboo. I've got 2 of those. What I did was, if you notice, this is the kind of length that I normally work with. This is a rubbish piece because it's not cooked. And I try and make the bamboo holder plus the, the extra thing in the end, if I put one of these things in, to be roughly the same length, because I like the grip aspect. I don't like something too long. Yeah, so, but the bits of bamboo will take any size. Those pencil extenders, my charcoal is different widths. So with the bamboo, it can be any width, as long as it's not too thick. I wouldn't put a big thick piece like that in it, because it'll push the thing out too far and it'll be awkward to hold, Yeah, so that's what it is. Just a simple bamboo clutch thing with elastic bands around the end. Just make it tight. That's all. It's a lot easier than those. You can't really use the pencil extenders, as I say, because charcoal's all different thicknesses. So I'm going to draw this guy today, so this is the question is, and I did those three. The first one was a washout because of the paper. But so the question was, when I was doing, and this is why this is important. This is important for me to accept that is the culmination of my response. To accept that, rather than thinking, oh, it must be a super duper finished like this guy in the academy, or express my own soul. That's the thing. So it's really important that I do that. Otherwise, I'm just doing it to try and be like somebody else, and that's not why I do it. So, which is why I don't do the follow the sort of the rules kind of thing. But why I do it, I just like doing it. That's as complicated as it gets. I worry sometimes that I drift towards the norm, the normal doing, and I know I do, and I know people want to know how to draw eyes properly and all the rest of it, but that's not me. There's loads of people that do that on here. I'd probably say to you, well, why do you want to draw eyes? It's just a bunch of shapes and tones. Why do you want to draw eyes? What makes you think it's important to draw eyes? It's not. It's important to draw the relationship of these shapes in relation to these shapes. That's what's important. That's what's important. But as I said, that's me. That's not. It's not these guys from the academy that are doing these incredible skulls. Drawing skulls. I can't think of anything worse than drawing. It's just a look how clever I am kind of situation, isn't it? It's like, why would you want to draw skulls? Unless you've got some kind of macabre fascination. It's not. Oh, it's a proof of his. No, it's not. It's a dead person. It's not even a dead person. It's a dead person's bits. Why is that a thing? To know the skeleton, I suppose they'll say, well, I saw this guy doing at the same academy doing a sculpture, and the muscles and the crikey, this is it was more like an autopsy than a sculpture. It's just weird, isn't it? It's just weird that this kind of. And as I say, I'm not right. They're definitely right. I'm just some fool with a bit of charcoal in his hand, So, but it just tickles me that the thing that it's like, and everybody stands around, all kind of intense and academic like, and oh yes sir. There's professors there like with his little chest puffed out. I saw that at the Montfort, the ego thing of the lecturers. My boss was the worst one. I worked for him for nearly 10 years, and we both went to teach at the Montfort, and he always puffed his chest out when we were at work anyway. So I mean, he was no different when he went into the lecture theatres and was clutching his notes. Bless him. He's probably gone now, you know. He's probably gone. A great bloke though. A great bloke. Gave me a fantastic lift. You know, I was virtually homeless, and he tracked me down. He tracked me down and phoned my mother because I was virtually homeless. I'd looking for a guy in a. I probably told you this before, but it's a crazy story. It's I worked for this agency, and they were badly run, as a lot of agencies were at the time, and it all went pear-shaped, and people running out of the building and, you know, literally carrying stuff because they thought they weren't going to get paid, and, you know, literally carrying drawing boards and materials, and it was just mad. Anyway, so I sort of teamed up with this guy who was the creative director who had employed me at the agency, and we were going to do great things, and we didn't. That was the end of it. We got some backing, kind of thing, but not real backing. And I ended up living in this house of one of the backers, which is virtually derelict because his wife had left him and stripped everything out of the house, and there was nobody in it but this guy that was a vagrant, and me and a bunch of cats, which was not ideal. Anyway. So I was uncontactable, basically, off the radar almost. And this guy tracked me down through my mother because I spoke to my mother, and she said, "Oh, so and so, it's trying to look. There's a number, ring this." And then he gave me a break, and I got, you know, from there to be visualizer, art director, creative director, and yeah, it was great. Proper design studio, so not. It was only when the Macs came that everything fell apart. But up until that point, we were all super creative and skilled people, you know. But Max came and destroyed it all. But yeah, that's how it went. But yeah, so I was at that. I was teaching with him at the Montfort University, just for. I think it was 3 semesters. Can't remember. It all went a bit pear-shaped because some of there were London agency types that came down thinking that came up rather to Nottingham, to Leicester, and thinking they were the bee's knees and demanding high fees and literally taking the proverbial, and it all came into question because these people were basically taking advantage of this pot of money that was available to fund us, and they were just draining it, and with their extortionate fees. So the light shone, and it all fell apart. But I'd gone there because of the new media thing. I mean, I was well into computers, and as a kickback against the Macs, because I hated the Macs. I still do, but at the time it was just putting all my mates out of work, you know, and for what? Like I said before, my mate that committed suicide, a typesetter, because it just wiped out his business overnight, and so I got into computers and programming because of that, because I wanted everything the computer promised. You know, I wanted the combination of medias. You know, I mean, to be on and offline. Kind of. It was before the internet. So, but I still was interested in, you know, hypertext, which is what Berners-Lee was playing around with, and it ended up, if you could send hypertext and then decode it, i.e. with a browser, and then suddenly you got the internet. But we were all using hypertext to create interactive documents, and that was what was fascinating me, that you could create a document with information in it that people could interact with, and that was it. So I was doing that, and they asked me to go to Montfort to talk to people about this new media, as it was referred to then, and that's why I was there, really. But I could do all the art direction and the corporate communication, logos and stuff like that, and I could do all that. So I was teaching that as well. But back to the pretense thing. There were some there. There were some there that were. I mean, the London guys had got it in spades, but there were some lecturers there that had been there as students and come back to lecture. They got it. They got that. They got that untouchable arrogance. Look at me, I'm somebody, kind of thing. And just people just have it, don't they? So where they get it from, I've no idea. I think you can just probably buy it from a shop. But I always thought that it was because I do this. So you see me open up my soul to this, and I'll tell you anything that pertains, if you like, to what is occurring. And I was like that with students, which is why I had so many people stopping me, which is why I got into trouble, because I used to get into trouble for teaching outside my hours. You're not supposed to teach in so, so, and across disciplines as well. So illustration kids would ask me about stuff and packaging and graphic design, and not supposed to do that. So anyway, let me just fix this. I need to okay. Yeah, as I said, the finish thing. I've got no problem with the finish thing at all. If people want to develop, insane skills to do it, I've got no problem with that at all. I've got a problem with doing it because that's the way it should be done, kind of mentality, and everything that these people do is what you've seen before. I've got a problem with that. I want to see something new. I want to see something fresh, and it still can be realistic. It's not. I'm not saying it shouldn't be. I'm just thinking that it shouldn't be the same as everybody else has done. I think it's the thing. I don't understand that, because every artist wants their own, their own thing. Wants to do their own thing. They want it to be their thing. They don't want to do it like somebody else's thing. And unfortunately, that's what these places promote. It's always going to be like somebody else's, simply because of the act of doing it. It's like that because that's how everybody else does it, and it's a established methodology, established outcome. People aim for that as well. And the problem I've got with that is that once it's great for people to have, I said yesterday about the classical thing, to have that opportunity to learn the classical, but it's shedding that, afterwards. It's always going to be embedded within there somewhere. It's the same thing as me with being reticent when it comes to material skill dependency. It's the same thing. That's a byproduct of me hating doing it, because I forced myself to and killed myself because of it. But I forced myself to think that was the only way, and because I couldn't do it, I was was a failure, you know. And that's a terrible thing. That it's just, if you've got some kind of creative spirit, for it to be stifled by the perception of your expression being out of sync with others and therefore not acceptable and therefore a failure, that's a terrible thing, isn't it? No art institute would encourage that or allow that to happen, but unfortunately it does, doesn't it? Probably the perpetuated by galleries, but it's how it is, isn't it? It's how it is. Which is why I think this thing about me doing it is the, you know, why I do it is the and with such determination. I think that's probably what drives it, all that, because I'm annoyed at myself for allowing the definition of others to dominate my I don't know if it's self-assessment, but my personal approach and an outcome. I mean, the thing about it is that, if you know, for me, if it's in my mind that it has to be like this even before I start. This is why I bang on about expectations. If it's in my mind that it has to be this good before I even start, I have no chance, because I'm going to be thinking about that, the level of you know, like target all the time, that expectation all the time I'm doing it. So every mark's going to have that expectation embedded within it, and every mark will fail because of that very reason. But if you're going to follow a methodology, none of that's a consideration, is it? You're just following the guidelines. You're doing the jigsaw just like anybody else does the jigsaw. As I said, that's a big thing. Well, you know, my motivation, if that's what I'm talking about, is it's why it's so simple. I can't, you know, it has to be simple. It has to be. If it's complicated, then I won't do it. You know, my you know, if it was laden with expectations, I'm going to do this so that I can sell it. That's the first one. I'm going to do this so it can be exhibited so I can sell it. You know, that's the second one. If it's laden with that, I have no chance. I have no chance. You wouldn't see me doing it if that's what. Yeah, I'd never be doing it again. If that's what, because I'd just go back to the old sort of self, you know, sabotaging route of limiting beliefs and all that sort of stuff. See, I don't. That's another thing. I don't believe, looking at those amazing guys at these academies, I don't believe I could do what they do, if you ask me. But it's not. I don't want to do what they do, so it's okay. But that's it. You see, that's the trick. I don't believe, if anybody said, "Oh, you can do that," they're damn right. I couldn't do it, but I don't want to do it. So, end of story. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. It's in the past, I would have held that as a to my as a detrimental thing. It's not, you know. And I would have, you know, just not being good enough. You know, that thing, not being good enough. That's terrible, isn't it? It's a terrible thing, that is. Feeling as though you're not good enough. Good enough for what? Good enough to meet somebody else's expectations. What's that all about? I don't want to meet somebody else's expectations. So why would I consider myself not good enough? See, I think that because of my experience and because of the people I talk to, and I can't fix people. I'm no psychologist. I said the other day, I'm no trick-cyclist, so I can't get involved in that. There's a guy on here I think he's on here, and he does all that. He does all the conscious thing. And I said to him, "You're a doctor." And he was talking about how you should do this because this gets into the consciousness and that. And I'm thinking, what's he doing? What's he doing? Pretending he's a doctor. He just talks to the camera. Doesn't wear a white coat. Pretends he's an artist, but he just draws cartoons, as far as I can tell. He's a comic book stuff, which is great. But I don't think you should profess to be some kind of medical expert. That's what he was doing. That worries me, that stuff like that. But having said that, on here, because it can, just as the wrong information about how you draw something can be detrimental. Like the guy the other day talking about doing it without Loomis or whatever he said, and then throwing up like loads of mathematics, So, but we're all a bit weird, aren't we? And if you're thinking, listening to me and thinking, what the hell is he on about? Then it's just the same kind of thing as the guy with the numbers and the guy with the psychological stuff. But this thing of self-expectation and all that kind of stuff. Self-worth, I suppose, or being good enough and all that. I think that's a side of art nobody really considers, because it's such a the process of creation and the process of doing this is such a mental thing. It's part of it's emotional and as I say, psychological thing. It's not really considered that. I've often thought there must be courses where people talk about the psychology of doing it and help people to sort of get over. I would imagine I went to art college with perceptions. I mean, admittedly, it was graphics and all that, but I got a perception of what it was. It was completely wrong, but it was never addressed. It was just simply, you follow this mechanical route. This is how you create a design. This is the stages you go through. It was never. So they sort of confirmed in a way that I was useless. That I really didn't know, and they didn't go to any lengths as to establishing what is it that you actually think being a graphic designer is about. It was any of that. It was only when you got into the job that you started realizing that it was about different things, and none of them was to do with whether or not you could drag a pencil in a certain direction, which is what they used to do at Doncaster was chose your sketchbook. Why? I never kept a sketchbook then, so no chance of me doing it now. But it was just the blind leading the blind. That's all it was. But as I said, I'm pretty sure there must be courses where they deal with the emotional side of being a creative or creating. There's got to be. You see here and here so many people that have got certain hang-ups about things. Because the thing about it is, it's like I'm saying about the lack of expectations. Once you address those issues, and if that's the issue, it's just I need to be good enough. I need to do it this way. I need to be selling and exhibiting and all the rest of it. And once you've addressed all those and removed all those, you don't know how good you can be, because that's what will happen. You'll become special, and it'll be your own speciality that'll be the special. But that's not, as I say, that's not really something I could. I just know it from my own point of view. I'm not as I say, I'm not trying to be anything other than sharing. I'm not trying to do anything other than sharing what it happened to me, and I'm pretty sure that it happened to a lot of people as well. So it's not like it's I'm in the minority one. So just as an aside, now I was talking about the charcoal thing and the paper relationship stuff, and I mentioned it to my missus last night. I said, I've just had problems with charcoal not being, the last batch that I made is not brilliant, so I'm struggling. And she said, "Oh, use that charcoal." She went to art college, did it back in the day, as I've said before, early days in the 70s. They probably still do a foundation course where you just do everything and then you go off. And she went off and did fashion, and but you did everything at the time. And she had some charcoal from the back in the day, and it's here, right, in this little tin. This is 50 years old. Right, 50 years old is that charcoal there, and I think it is willow, right? I think it's willow, and I thought, yeah, I'll try that. This is the willow, right? It is horrible stuff, right? If this is what you draw with, then my heart goes out to you, because this is terrible stuff. I don't know whether or not it's got better over the years, that the way that it produced this stuff has got better over the years. I don't know, but it is hard, it's waxy, it's just not soft. It's just not. It's not soft. You see, this is not soft. This is not what I'd call soft in a crumbly kind of way. It makes a mark, but it makes a dense mark. This, which is the willow, I say, it's more akin to graphite than it is to charcoal for me. And I think that it's not even putting a mark on there, so I don't know why I'm doing that. But I think that's why where is it? I think I got some Winsor Newton and some Rowney charcoal, because somebody asked me about charcoal, and the best one I got was that, and I've destroyed the box now. It's called YUA or something. I can't remember. That was probably the best one I had, but none of them were anything like this. So I think that maybe this dependency I've got on contrast, you can see how contrasted this is. I think it's just a byproduct of this charcoal. I think the ease at which it does it is part of the problem, part of the the result, part of the issue, the problem, I suppose. That I've got this dependency on contrast, on depths of tone and things. But I still think that it's that, the ease of which you can draw, the ease of which you can actually define something, the ease of which you can actually make the marks. If the like the willow stuff, if you've got to work at it to make the marks, then I'm working at making marks with willow. I'm not drawing. It's like a nonsensical kind of argument. It's not, but surely that's drawing. Well, it is, but it's the having to consider part of it, which is back to this guy that did this amazing. I mean, apart from the fact that he used white charcoal or white chalk or whatever he was using, because I'm quite I'm not a fan of that. I always think that you should be able to establish the tonal range without the need to supplement that with over-exaggerated highlights. I don't know. I don't know. It's just me, but they always look a bit shiny to me. So, and that's my just a personal observation, obviously, but that level of, because that's a consideration thing as well. So that level of consideration, that it has to be, the highlight has to be that intense, and therefore I'm going to change the, you know, the tool I'm using to create that false highlight. I think that's the for me, that's the problem. It's it all becomes a considered event. It's all about the muscles in the face, you know, that kind of thing. I just I don't know. I can't. I think it's completely right what they do, because it's got to be. Look at how great those works are and how they're praised for what they do. It's, you know, it's just not my bag. I think that's what it is. Just not my bag. I can't look at it and think that's a great drawing. I think it's a great example of skill and knowledge, but I just think that drawing, particularly faces, is a personal response to another human, and that if it doesn't encapsulate that, then it's not, for me, not a portrait. It's just an example of great skill and knowledge. So yeah, again, this is one of those situations where it's about the feeling of it. This is you know, with drawing hair, people talk about, they'll say, oh, you know, how do you draw hair, and I like the way you draw hair. And I always, when people say that, they always say, you know, I like the way you treat hair. I think, oh crikey, I've got a style, you know, I don't want that. I don't want it to be like that. And I think the drawing of hair for me is the sort of culmination of what my attitude to doing this, which is, if it looks like it, it feels like it, regardless of whether I've drawn it like it's exactly the same, then that's it. That's job done. It's I'm more interested in it feeling and looking like hair than I am in whether or not I've got the curls in the right place or whether the strokes are going the right way. Admittedly, I exploit charcoal because, you know, if it's multi-level tonal thing, I exploit it in terms of drawing hair, because it will give you the, you know, the strokes within it, and it's probably peculiar again to this charcoal, but I exploit the fact that it can simulate the undulations as I'm going backwards and forth, and it removes the, you know, the previous layer and all that kind of thing. So I exploit that. But it's just a responsive thing. It's not a oh, if I do it here, then that's going to happen. If I do it here, it's just, I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at, it needs to be a bit darker down there, and it needs to, you know, sort of come around his ear there, and there's a kind of a hidden highlight underneath there, and so that's kind of how I'm doing it. But I'm just trying to make it look, and you see how it starts to look. And then I've got to fix the tonal side of it, so you can't have the highlights that are too bright there, and just so it balances right. You can see it comes back into balance there. So that's all I'm doing. It's not a great skill or a knowledge thing. It's just doing what I see, you know. And that's where, back to the charcoal, why it's important that charcoal doesn't get in the way of that. Doesn't get in the way of oh, I can't. It's not dark enough, so I'm gonna, with this, whatever it is, with this, oh, it's not dark enough, so I'm going to, you see, if I do this with this is not even touching that, right? It's not even touching that there. It's applying something to it. It's not affecting the charcoal underneath it. So this is where I think it's whatever it is that I stumbled on with this homemade hazelwood, and it wasn't to start with. If you look at some of the early ones on Instagram or something. I didn't start Instagram straight away, so there was about 2,000 drawings that didn't get onto Instagram, and I can't be bothered to put them on. It's just a chore. But I think some of those early ones were done with Hawthorne, and Hawthorne kind of did what I do with this, but not as well. And I think when I realised what this is, and I didn't, as I said before when I was on about making this stuff, I didn't really think of, I didn't know it was Hawthorne. Hazelwood. I thought they were. I thought it was silver birch. Because these trees, I don't know why hazel grows near silver birch trees. I've no idea. But in the wood where I go for a walk, it is there's silver birch everywhere. Apparently, it was the ideal, because it's an old pit, so it was the ideal wood for quick growth and to bind together the man-made hill that they created to cover up the pit, the mine, or the slag from the mine. And but these hazelwood trees had been there before that was built. They were, and I don't know whether or not this is true, but they were the hazel trees lined the road on the walk into the pit, the mine. Point being that at the times when the fruit was, the nuts were ready to eat, the miners could pick them on the way into work, or on their way out of work. That was the kind of story behind it. I don't know if it's true or not, but so I was looking for straight sticks when I found hazelwood. As I say, underneath the silver birch trees, and that was it. And then when I started making it, and it's a bit hit and miss. This is why this batch is not so great. It's a bit hit and miss. But I've got to get used to working with stumpy bits as well. So, which is not, I'm getting used to it, but I prefer them to be longer. I prefer them to be this kind of length. But that piece, despite it looking like a cracking piece of charcoal, and it's got the right ring, because this is not something else is that it doesn't got the right ring. When it's charcoal, when it's proper charcoal, it has a hollowness about it. That's got it. That piece there, that's just fragment because it's overcooked, but it has a certain ring. This hasn't got it. You can hear it. It's still wood, or still solid wood. But yeah, I just have to get used to working with lumpy, stumpy bits, and which is all right. As I said, it's I prefer it to struggling with a shop bought version. Yeah, but there's the this. I don't know if you can see this. This kind of granular feel about it, particularly with this kind of subject. I mean, I'm nearly there. I just have to sort out the angles a little bit. It's a little bit. The mouth is looking a bit weird and unreal, and I just need to fix things like that. But it's nearly there, but it has this bit. There's somebody I'm connected with, and I seen it or something like that, and it's a bit like the guerrilla. Although the guerrilla brigade guy is craftsmanship, what he does, but there are things that sort of fragmentation of the charcoal and a little bit of almost like wash-like qualities to it, as if you put a wash on it. It's stuff like that takes it beyond drawing, and I only get that with homemade charcoal. I don't get the randomness, the serendipitous kind of outcomes using anything other than the homemade charcoal. So say another reason why I kind of stick to using it. I did try to use nitrum, but that's a different beast altogether. Not at all. It's the guy in this academy would be using something like that. This proper, sort of precision stuff. But precision is the last thing I want. I want it to be imprecise, because you never know what happens when it's imprecise. It's like it's almost like experimentation. I may not quite know what's going to happen with it. So anyway, why I do this, I just like doing it. I think that's the only way I can just sum all that. I just like doing it, and I think if it was any more complicated than that, as I said earlier, I just wouldn't do it. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I will probably be on later. I may well fix some of the global markers. So I'm thinking about what John Ingbertson was saying yesterday, and he was talking about markers, and some of the markers for me are like the bottom of the ear, and look at the nose, that kind of arrangement there, and the top of the ear there, and where that, and the distance, and all these markers. I might fix some of those. They need a little bit of adjustment in places, and but then again, I might not. It depends on like with this girl, it's like that. It sort of, it feels right, even without the intense. I mean, the nose is a bit weird, but I'm okay with that. And but it feels like there's light on her face, even though it's not particularly dark. And this has got the same thing. This has got the same kind of vibe. Maybe this is going to step up a little bit. Maybe there's going to be a bit straightening down there, but all of the kind of insignificant things. I'm going to just lose the ear as well a little bit at the top there, because it's throwing a bit of imbalance into it. See that? That's weird. I mean, I'm often, my response is right. That ear's a bit forthcoming, if you like. What do I do about it? And I'll scribble over the top of it, and the impact of that simple scribbling over it just amazes me sometimes. It's like confirmation that I was right. Oh yeah, look what it's done. Look how it's changed that. There's not a consideration as in the guy from the academy. Oh well, we need to do this and do this. It's just I can see that's happening, so I fix it. Anyway, I'll leave it at that, and I'll probably catch you later today.